What's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of B's for Build. We're here working on the pontoon yacht. In today's episode, we are switching our focus onto these engines. Now, we've never had these engines start. We don't know if they start. We don't know how to make them start. We've got a box full of random controls and random wires. We have no instructions at all. We've got to learn all of that stuff to try and be able to send a start signal to these engines and hope that the ECUs are talking to the front control module or some stuff like that. I don't know. We're gonna learn it all in today's episode. And then we're gonna do a servicing on these engines as well. So we bought these things, they're a total question mark. We don't know the last time they were serviced. So we're gonna do all of the normally serviceable items on these engines so that they are in good condition, ready to get back on the water. And we also brought propellers. So we're gonna get spinny boys on the engines. Let's get started. The oil situation in these engines was weird, guys. All right, and it's a dry sump oil system, so I really hope that we don't somehow have like an air pocket, oil trapped up top, giving us bad readings and not flowing down. I don't know, but this guy was topped off to the brim, like all the way up on the top of the dipstick. This guy was the one that was leaking. No oil in it, basically nothing reading on the dipstick. So we actually went as far as just draining oil out of this one, putting it in this one. So we've got them now both with oil midway through the dipstick, used oil, but they should stay lubricated. It is time to verify that they start. Now to do that, coming over here, this is what got shipped with the engines. We're gonna go ahead and throw it all out on the deck. Actually, some of this is stuff for our welder and some of this is stuff for our solar panels. But anyways, we're gonna throw it out on the deck and start to decode wires. Before we get too far into this, I want to take a second out to thank our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by Carly. This is my 2019 Mustang GT, and I just took it on a 2,000-mile road trip to SEMA and back. So let's use the Carly device to see how we're doing. Just plug it in. You can see the lights. Turn my car on to accessory mode. Now that I'm connected, let's go ahead and do a diagnostics and see how the car's doing. Diagnostics is complete. It found 44 issues. Let's see how many of them are serious issues. So I looked through all of these, and these are all things that I would expect based on the modifications that I've done in my car, except for anti-lock braking system right here. It says there's something about battery voltage might be throwing an issue. Now this is really interesting because there's another feature on this thing where we can check our battery health. So let's jump into that and check that. And it says our battery health is very bad, and our charge level is 65%, and the self-discharge is 9.54%. Might be that our cheap stereo is a little less than ideal. Another feature I love about the Carly is live data. So let's say maybe your engine was running a little rich and you weren't sure if it was reading the right, let's say, ambient air temperature or something like that. You can go in here and you can look at the live data, and you can see right here, engine's telling you ambient air temperature, 25C. That's like, I'll put that on the screen in Fahrenheit. That's how hot it is in here right now. And you can read a bunch of different other, you can see your AC pressure sensor, all sorts of different things for your powertrain control module. And that's just one of a ton of other modules that you can look at and get live data from. I think it's an absolutely wonderful tool. I keep mine with me everywhere I go. I keep this in my camera bag. If you use the link in my description, you guys can get 15% off using code BISFORBUILD24. So go hit that link at the top of my description. Use code BISFORBUILD24 for 15% off. Huge thanks to Carly for sponsoring this episode. Let's get down to it. What a mess. So we plugged things into where they plug in, where things fit. The controller was really easy. That controls our engines. You know, forward, reverse, throttle, and it's got a bunch of sensors right here. This thing looks like crap. We're gonna have to do a good job to restore it because it's $1,000 for a new one. So it was a big deal when I bought these engines that they came with controls, and I'm really glad that I pushed for that because all of this stuff here, although it looks like garbage, I've done some research offline. I know that these two things are paired to the engine, so that would have been literally a trip to an engine dealer to pair a new computer to that. So that would have been insane to not have these. These wiring harnesses will run you easily $1,000 to $2,000 online. This cable right here, they sent one of them, and I emailed them and convinced the seller to sell another, or to give us another one. So it's on the way. Those will run you $250 per cable. All of this stuff really adds up. So if you're buying used engines for a project, make sure that you get the controls with it, even if they're old, if they're outdated, if they're anything. I think it's totally worth it to get them with it. So this basically costs us no extra money in the auction, and we got controls with it. So today's educational YouTube video is coming from Born Again Boating. So shout out to Born Again Boating YouTube channel. How to rig a Mercury Verado we're watching this thing like a hawk to try and figure it out. He's rigging one engine though, so it might not answer a lot of our questions about the dual engine issues. Between YouTube videos and wiring diagrams, we have figured a lot of stuff out. I will say one thing that we haven't found that we'll keep working towards and looking for is there's a 12 volt accessory output. It might be this guy right here or something that just triggers 12 volt when you do key on. That's going to be really important for our navigation and other things that live in the helm. So we'll have to find out which wire that is. I'm sure it's in the diagram. But it's time to get these bad boys started so we can start servicing them as well. I mean, hopefully they start. So to do that, we need batteries, or battery, and we need some good cabling. We need to run the heavy duty. We're going to make these the permanent ones that we plan on having, power ground, and then we need to run the clean power ground. There's an example of one right there. A clean power ground from the battery as well to these engines, and that should give us an electrical flow that runs through all of this stuff that makes it pretty happy to eventually allow us to use this keypad right here from a Yamaha to start up our Mercury engines. Quick hack for making some power cables and ground cables on the cheap. Run down to Harbor Freight, get their most expensive jumper cables. It's like 40 bucks, gets you 20 foot of 2 gauge wiring. It's nice, it's bundled with your red and your black together. We're gonna go ahead and cut this in half, and then we're gonna use our hydraulic crimper and crimp ends on this. And 2 gauge, because we're doing a short shot from our battery right to our engine, is gonna be just fine gauge wise, and it's a nice tidy cable, and it saves you a lot of money because you're like 20 bucks a cable at that point, which is pretty good these days. Electrical cabling can cost an absolute fortune. Oscar's got our engines hooked up with our brand new battery cables here and the clean power cables. Last step is going to be to add a little bit of heat shrink on all of these end pieces, and then those are done. So with that being done, we've got an interesting thing to figure out here. I was told inside here, there's a number that we need to pay attention to right here, and we need to match that with the computer that lives up there in the helm. Big shocker. This number does not match up with the engine, and the version number doesn't match up either. So from what I've been told, this engine won't start, but we'll see. It's possible that these have been flashed or these have been reprogrammed or changed. I have no idea. Like I said, the person ran these engines before they sent them to us, so I'm really hoping that there's something we don't know. But I was told that those versions have to match so that the engine and the helm controls and stuff can talk to each other. So right now, we're gonna go ahead and plug in the 14 pin wire, and then we should be able to key on and have something happen, hopefully. I was expecting these to have unique serial numbers so we could match them to the engine, but there's nothing unique about these. Okay, we've got the console computer plugged into the 14 pin cable. We've got the can plugged into a gauge just in case if it wants to be terminated. And then we've got that cable going back to the engine. We've got our power, and we've got our like real power. So something might happen when we key on here. This key was already on. Let's wait for the jet to go by so we can listen to the engines. All right, we're gonna try turning the key. Nothing. Oh. Ah! Shit. What do we think that alarm was for?
I think it's just to let you know your key is on and the engine's off.
That would be really annoying if that's normal. Now I do have the positive and negative for the lanyard connection. I don't know if it wants to be open to be able to run or closed. I can hear that fuel pump running dry, so I don't want to let it go for too long. We're going to try and kick this engine over. Oscar, you clear?
Yep.
Okay. Nothing. Okay, I think we add fuel to this situation and try and get some fuel pressure. I think that's a good idea. All right, the last hour for us was a lesson in not trying things too fast without paying attention to what the heck you're doing. I made a mistake. I didn't know what these lanyard things wanted to be. Turns out open circuit will let the engine go. Closed circuit means, you know, you had a problem, you fell off your boat, etc., etc. So I was playing with those, not knowing which one went to which engine, closed one off, and then we tried swap-swapping the ECUs like I told you on camera, and it didn't do anything. It did even less. Well, that was because the thing was closed. So I was just trying too many things too fast, screwed it up. We wasted about an hour and a half. Now we think we're somewhere. We have yet to start the engine, but we did hear a crank. Let's clear a little space here. Let's hope that no sparks go into our gas tank.
Got a free vent system going.
Where's Kyle with that fire extinguisher when we need him? We're gonna get a couple fire extinguishers real quick and then we'll fire this thing up. It's just proper precaution anytime you're starting a new engine up. Anyways, shout out to H3R Performance. They sent us so many fire extinguishers. We are always protected in all of our shops. Thanks to them for that. We both got our own fire extinguisher. Oscar, you got the keys. I'm the filmer guy. Turn the microphone around. Yeah, fire her up.
Oh.
Low voltage?
Starter's engaged. One sec.
Oh, the starter is engaged.
It's like not falling back down.
I was engaged once.
Try again.
If that keeps being a problem, we gotta buy another starter.
It might just be corrosion from not starting in a long time.
Yeah, we just had that happen on the other boat.
Oh yeah. Okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. All right, go ahead, cut it off. That is one engine firing up.
Cool.
I like the way it sounds too.
It sounds nice, burly.
Has a high cold start RPM. So now we're gonna switch over our data cable over to the other engine, and we gotta make sure, and the battery system and the fuel system, we gotta make sure this engine starts up as well. All right, priming the system. We're plugged in the battery and everything. Don't remember which key is which. I think it's this one now.
Yep.
Hey, we got a nice single beat. That's great. Okay, should we give it a shot?
Yeah. Nice.
Hey, happy days. Now we got to tear into these bad boys and change a lot of stuff out. Not change it, just change it out.
Maintenance.
Maintenance it. Shout out to the wonderful YouTubers that do in-depth videos about where every single one of these wires go. I put a link in the description to that video that we watched that taught us these things. So, talking about engine servicing. We're doing a big service here. We're basically servicing everything on these engines that we could get the serviceable parts for. Everything that we could get to be swapping out that makes sense. There are some things on a 300-hour service that they talk about doing, like the accessory belts on the top. Those look perfectly fine. But other things, like for instance the water pump inside these, we have seen water pumps go bad and kill marine engines before. That's a big one for me, and I really don't want to do it on the water. So we're going to start with that one. We're going to drain the oil, then we're going to get these engines tilted back so we have enough room to drop the lower. Oscar's going to work on one, I'm going to work on the other. We're going to do this side by side, get this rocking and rolling. It is so fun digging into new things, new different things, and learning about them. So we took the side cases off, we drained all the oil out, took the side cases off so we could access the gear switching mechanism that's over here. And then there's just a bunch of bolts around the bottom that help us take off the lowers. And now to you guys that are familiar with boating, this is gonna be like a no duh type of moment, but I did not know that the transmission part is actually in here. When you spin this left or right, it just, yeah, Oscar's spinning this thing and the drive shaft is not going anywhere. So it's pretty cool. We are watching another video from, what's that channel, Born Again Boating? He has a full video on how to change out the water pump. So that is the first thing that we're gonna be doing, is changing out the water pump impeller. I think it's a gear driven pump based off the drive shaft. So you just change out the impeller. So we're gonna crack into these bad boys and check out, we'll get our old impellers out and give you a look at how they are. They'll tell us a little bit about the condition of these engines and how far they've been between a service. We've got the water pump apart. Well, we've got the impeller off of the driving. So this plus the housing basically makes up the water pump. So this is what the used one looks like. Overall, it's in very, very good condition. This definitely has a few seasons left in it. The fins are bent. They seem bent so uniformly, it almost seems like it wasn't on accident, but this is the exact same part number and the fins are all straight. This is the brand new one. But other than that, as far as wear, this thing has worn very, very well. On our old boat, the 30-year-old Yacht, when we took the rubber impeller off of the thing, like half the stuff was broken, big chunks were taken out of it. I mean, it was in really, really, really poor shape. But we're gonna still swap these out on both engines. So that's the old one, goes in the trash. Now we have all new gaskets, all new metal plates, all new O-rings. They're gonna go back in here and we'll get it back buttoned up and then do the same on the other one. Cool, we got our water pump serviced, we got the lowers back on and bolted on. We are waiting, we ordered an anode kit online, so we'll refresh all of the anodes. By the way, lots of anodes will be going on this boat. I know there's been so much talk about galvanic corrosion. Don't worry, we will insulate the different things between each other so they're not touching. And honestly, you guys make a big deal of it online. It's not that bad of a thing. And we got anodes on here. So anyways, next up, we are going for fuel filters. Fuel filters are right here. Is one. You're supposed to have a special tool to get this top off, but we are going to use, you know, 1 or 2 screwdrivers and hopefully not break it without making a special tool. And then the second one is a little bitty inline guy right here. Let's get those both serviced out on both engines. Primary and secondary fuel filters have been swapped out. Now, let me move this engine to show you. Right there, the red top. Now, we thought we were gonna be able to get this with putting a screwdriver between the 2 prongs and just bending it, but it really started to max it out. So as you saw on the camera, Oscar built a handy dandy tool pretty quick out of a socket. We'll keep that on board on this boat for when we change these out the next time, probably after 100 hours of use. So the next thing we're going after is the oil change. On the subject of fuel, a commenter did write in about the FSU or FMU, FML, whatever it may be. Under here, there's a big tank that manages the fuel in this boat. It has a float in it, it has a low pressure fuel sending unit, it has a high pressure fuel sending unit, and it's a big thing inside this tank. We talked to people that service these engines for a living, and they said if it's working fine, don't mess with it. And also because of where it's at, we can do this on the water. We could change this out if we need to. It's literally just take these 2 fairings off, take this off, and then we can get in there and crack in there and mess with it. But they said that's not a like standard thing that you're gonna just crack open and start messing with. So although we did have a comment that said, you know, to check them out, they're saying don't check them out, just leave them, run them. If it breaks, then you start working on it. These do have pretty advanced ECUs, and it will throw a code if it's got low fuel pressure, which is great. So we're going after oil next. We got to get the oil filters out. They are right here. We'll get our brand new oil filters in. These could put up a fight. They seem like they're on really tight. One good thing about these engines though is everything that we've taken off seems like it's in really good condition. So I do believe that these were taken care of nicely and serviced, you know, probably within reasonable intervals. So someday we'll invest in a really good oil filter removal tool, but for now, so when we can't, so when we can't get our hands in there, I like to, oh, you're going low. I like to start high. Because in case there's a pickup in there.
I go low because it's meatier on the bottom.
It is meatier, it is a lot more meaty on the bottom. So you tap it right through the fuel filter. I like to get through on both sides. I don't usually use as big of a
lot of clearance back there.
Oh, he's worried about stabbing something else. I don't usually use as big of a screwdriver as what Oscar, as big of a tool as Oscar has. There we go. And if we'll stop. And now that we got fresh oil filters on each engine, we're gonna go ahead and tighten the drain bolts and go ahead and fill them up. Special oil for these engines, Mercury Racing oil. Let me know in the comments if you think it's worth the extra money or if you run more of a traditional motor oil. I think a traditional motor oil would work fine on these things, but we did spend, what was that? $300 and something on oil for these two engines to buy the special Mercury Racing stuff. Let me know if you think it's all hogwash in the comments. Oscar very valiantly did the oil change. I've been 3D modeling, trying to figure out how we're gonna build our steps and our stairs and our bar to go up into that second level. We're starting on that in the next episode, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Now comes the fun part. We get to test our engines. We get to run these bad boys for a little bit longer. They have a flush port right here, comes out right here, hooks up to a garden hose. We're gonna build a little, I can't do that one-handed, but Oscar's got the hose right there. We're gonna do we've got a nice border on this mat right here that's gonna basically fill up with water, and then we're gonna build a little drain that's gonna come out and get us hopefully out of the garage without flooding us too badly. The goal for these will be to fire them up, let them go through their cold start, and then I would like to put it in forward and in reverse and make sure that the transmission is engaging. These are things that, again, the person that sold them to us said they do, but it's going to be valuable to verify. And then after we do that, we can put the propellers on in a little bit more low drama scenario than testing them with the propellers. Really don't want to ding up the propellers in any way. So let's go ahead and wire this engine up. Next thing you'll see is us giving it a fire attempt. Not fire, like firing, it's starting. A start attempt. All right, water's coming out of the bottom. Hey, our neighbor's got a Cybertruck in. That looks so fucking stupid. That is the ugliest vehicle ever made. It's already got dents on all the panels. Look at all the flat panels. It's got more wobblies than the camper truck. It really does, dude. All right, we're leaking. We're gonna go ahead and fire this thing up. You ready, Oscar?
Yeah, I got a fire extinguisher nearby.
All right, fire it up. Very cool. Hit the water for me. We're flooding the shop. One engine successfully running and transmissioning.
That thing's got some torque. You rev it up.
Oh yeah. Well, it's acting like a big gyro too, so it wants to get back on center. It makes me so happy. So when we get an engine or a powertrain for any vehicle, and we're able to jump into it, do some maintenance, learn where things are, like the fuel pumps, like the fuel filters, like the oil, all of that stuff, and know where the transmission is and everything. Feel so much more comfortable now running these things on the water, knowing that if we have a problem, we have a good idea of how we're gonna be able to fix it. It's not just like a big mystery box of pain. Highly recommend doing this if you're a boat owner at home and you haven't yet. All right, we got the other engine rigged up. Got the water going through the magical cooling system. These engines don't seem to have heat exchangers. I don't know how it works. Okay, nice little beep sound. Are you ready? Ready to clear? All right, go for it.
It might be fuel. Most likely it's fuel.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that was a fuel problem. That certainly seemed like a fuel problem. I don't see any fuel. All right, I think we're low on fuel. We're gonna go ahead and top off on fuel. Are you good?
Yep.
Well, this is strange. I really think it's fuel related.
I think so too.
Air, fuel, spark, lube. So let's go through things. I'll check this air filter right now. You want to check the... Guys, it sounded like we got a FML and the FSU. Okay, if you listen, I'm gonna key on this engine that was working fine and I'm gonna point the microphone towards it and I want you guys to listen to the priming sound. Wrong key, here we go. All right, it's a pretty girthy priming sound. We're gonna now wire in this engine and we're gonna try it. And I don't remember hearing such a priming sound. Okay, now we have the second engine wired up and we're gonna test the sound here. It is so much quieter.
Much quieter.
It is running for the same amount of time, but it's way, way quieter.
I think one of the pumps isn't turning on, like the priming pump or the...
So there's a low pressure and a high pressure, and then there's a float that triggers one of them. So it could be that the low pressure is not engaging. How crazy would it be if some guy gave us a heads up about it in the comments, we addressed it, we actually asked questions about it, and then before we even managed to run these things for over a minute, it became an issue. That would be nuts. I'm gonna call it the FSU for the fuel sending unit, because I like that acronym. It sends fuel to the engine. Both these fairings gotta come off. Then there's this big metal guard here protecting it. Then we should get access to it. And we gotta unplug it and take it apart, and then we can check the resistance on the float with an ohm meter to see if the float is operating properly. The second we popped this thing off of here, we saw that we had a corroded wire right here that was definitely barely making contact and totally busted off. So we're gonna continue to jump into this thing and look through it a little bit further. We're gonna do the same on the other engine as well and inspect it a little bit more. I'm glad we caught this. That is really good that we didn't have to, I mean, we could do it on the water, obviously, given the position and how long it took us. That's 10 minutes to pop that guy off of there. But you know, this is cool to get it done in the shop. So huge thanks for the comments and for the sharing of the wisdom. I know these engines are really popular. That's why we love to go with popular stuff, because people can share, you know, things that they've learned as, you know, information is passed down a long time. So I believe it's popping off the rest of these bolts to be able to get in here, and then we'll inspect the rest of the stuff. And we're gonna be, one big thing that goes wrong on these a lot is the float. So we're gonna be testing out the float. And then, I think we're gonna be calling around to see if we can, I hope we don't have to try and patch this wire versus getting a replacement.
That's like way in there.
Yeah, that guy's really far in there. That's a hard replacement, but we'll see. With the fuel sending module taken apart, we can see the different things. So you got the float, and you got a low pressure fuel pump, high pressure fuel pump. The red wire, the orange wire, excuse me, was going to a fuel pump. I think it was a high pressure fuel pump, so it makes a lot of sense. Here's the deal. This thing, obviously we can't just go get a brand new one in a matter of an hour. And then we thought about it, and like the idea of buying another used one is opening us up to a potential failure. So I'm gonna order a brand new one, and so we can double check and make sure that this was our problem and be, I guess, up and running temporarily. We're gonna fix this. We're gonna do a quick fix. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this sheathing off right here. We'll splice a wire in right here on the orange one. We're gonna drill that out right through there and then run it back down and then fill it with some 5-minute epoxy, fill the drill hole. And that'll plug that hole up, get that wire in there nice and sturdy. And again, this is temporary. We're ordering a brand new one so we don't have a botched job on this thing. So we're gonna go ahead and do that and get this harness back up and ready. That way we can test the engine. The other thing we're also gonna do is go ahead and break down this engine and just take a look at the fuel sending unit. We've used a voltmeter. You can use a voltmeter to check resistance in the float. So when the float is, you know, kind of like this and down, you're gonna get, I believe it is circuit closed, and then when it goes like that, circuit open. You wanna make sure that the float is working. That is a common fail point in these things. So we're gonna also verify that on the other one as well. FSU is back on and we are ready to test again. Let's see how this thing sounds when we prime it. We heard 2 pumps run that time, definitely 2 stages.
This is still going crazy.
I think it's filling up the bowl. It's gonna fill it up until the float turns it off. It's definitely not as loud as the other engine. We're gonna give it a go. Not again. Well, that's disappointing to say the least. I mean, I'm glad we found that frail / broken wire in the FML pump, but we have the same problem going on. Air, fuel, spark, lube, probably not computer. We don't have a way of doing diagnostics on this thing right now. I know we can get some stuff, but we have nothing right now. We've done some Googling, we've tried a few other things, mainly making sure we have ample amounts of power, so we've like double stacked the batteries. I mean, it's firing up even better. The starter's working better now that we have the correct voltage, but it's not running. It's just running and falling on its face. Everything online that when you search about these things in this type of condition is pointing towards the fuel sending unit. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna swap. We're gonna pull this one out for a second, put this one in, and give it a test.
Yeah, I'm draining it out of the bottom of the tank.
Oh.
The FML tank.
Don't know if you guys could hear that. Oscar's draining this out of the FML tank, and we've got another FML issue. Did we put oil in this cup before?
No.
No?
That was a brand new cup.
Now we don't know if that's oil or that's water or... So here's the problem. It's for build here. We have race cars that run ethanol. We have boats that run gas. They got water in the gas. We've got diesel things. We don't know, unfortunately. Gas is really hard to get rid of, so we try and reuse it on projects. That gas does look a little brown.
We might have reused the wrong gas.
Yeah, so this would make sense. We run out of gas and then we grab...
It was running, and it was running bad because we ran out of gas, and then we used the wrong gas.
It's possible. We're gonna go buy some gas to double check this whole thing. That is a much better color for gasoline. I don't know what we were thinking. Oscar cleaned everything out while I was doing a gas run. Dude, this thing backfires on you sometimes. I sprayed so much gas around the gas station. Anyways, Oscar cleaned all of the lines out and the actual tank itself, drained it all out. So we should be able to suck up some fresh, good fuel now. Okay, you ready? Yep. Give it the beans. Yeah, that was it. All right. Much better. Okay, back to where we were before.
All right, that's more like it. Turns out all you need is a little premium and not diesel.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, let's get our propellers on here. Now that we know that the engines are working again. So we got some of these turning point propellers. They are aluminum rather than stainless steel. It's a lot cheaper. It's like 150 bucks a propeller. This is gonna help us gauge the pitch on this boat, and we may need to change them out. We may need to change pitch. If we find the exact perfect pitch, we may wanna upgrade to stainless steel. Not a lot of high likelihood that we're gonna be hitting stuff in our river. It's very deep, but there's a little bit of like, I've heard about flexing and stuff. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. So we're gonna go ahead and get these things on here. They should be the easiest part of the day, but the directions are very confusing. There's a washer. We're not sure if we need it or not. Who cares? We'll get it on. And that's the propellers installed. We decided to go with the washers, and it gave us plenty of room to get on these threads really good. They have a lock ring that helps stop this nut from being able to back off. So you just bend those tabs into the castle once you are done, and we're feeling good. Make sure to grease them up good before you put them on there. And that's it. We've got 2 working engines that have been serviced. We know a lot about them now and the systems that make them up, and we managed to get them both to fire. Now, the reason we had to fire one at a time was because we didn't have another data cable. The data cable's in the mail, that's coming. And then all the gauges and the helms and all that stuff, we are talking with Garmin, we're working with Garmin to hopefully get a really cool setup for this boat. We might even be able to get autopilot, which would be so dang cool for a boat like this. So that is coming. You can see there's a sneak peek of what you might think would be a fuel tank, but we're actually thinking about making the black water tank go there because the fuel tanks can all mount right here. Lots of stuff coming in the next episode when we build the stairs, the bar, the bathroom, going up to the 2nd level. Make sure you tune into that. The best way to not miss that episode is by clicking the subscribe button, and it also helps us out as a channel, so we all appreciate you for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace!